welcome to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 439, otherwise known as We're All Going Crazy Because of Quarantine, Week 2. Thank you for joining us. We have a good show in store for you today. We're going to talk about some Kingdom Hearts, some Resident Evil 3, and a little bit later in the show, we're going to be answering your questions. So welcome. And before we get into anything, I want to know how's everyone handling things right now? Chris, have you burned down any 5G towers this week?
No, I haven't. I don't think that'd be very helpful to the cause, considering it's not got anything to do with anything. But I'm just pushing on. I'm just pushing on, working hard, and not getting to do the things that I do usually when I'm not working hard. So, so it's like I think someone said the other day. A friend of mine said, "It's not defending." He wasn't defending like the people who are breaking quarantine and going out and all that. He wasn't defending these people, this friend of mine, but he was saying like they're doing like the people who are doing kind of work still, non-essential work. I guess they're still in the mindset of, well, this is my weekend and I'm going out because it's the weekend and I've been working all week. And that's not a justification for what's happening, but it might explain something to do with the mindset. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just getting on with what I'm doing and staying indoors, going out only when I absolutely need to get like milk or something. But no barbecues here yet. No, I've not invited my battalion of friends around or anything like that. No.
I was reading in the paper this morning that California, quote, has been doing a good job of social distancing. And then there's thousands of people going to the beach this weekend. Like, oh, okay, so now we're going to start doing a bad job. That's good to know. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Well, it's just going to get harder with every week because people, as a people, we're just selfish and we'll do it for a bit and then we'll just get bored. And then once we start getting bored, if we're not seeing people around us in the immediate vicinity, like keeling over, people are going to start going, well, I went out twice this week, maybe I can go out 3 times this week, and it'll just creep up with each and every week. And short of like, really locking down, really bringing in like draconian laws, I really don't know what can be done, because I think especially once like a month passes, there's going to be a lot of people who are just like, well, I stayed in for a month and now I'm bored, so I'm going to start going out again. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is that before this, you always heard about how the internet and cell phones is making everyone kind of antisocial. We're just, instead of going out, we're just staying indoors and, we're just talking on our phones and FaceTiming and whatever. And then 1 month of this, everyone can't wait to get the fuck out of their house. So it just kind of tells me that all of this whole antisocial behavior because of advances in technology is utter bullshit. Like, we will happily keep going outside as soon as we can, or before then, because like you said, we're all selfish. Dan, how are you enjoying the Rob Gronkowski hosted 2-night WrestleMania?
The Undertaker, I'm going to spoil it. The Undertaker brought back the American Badass, and I marked the fuck out. It was all pre-filmed. It was a boneyard match. It was the most goofy, over-the-top, self-aware shit imaginable. Undertaker fights a bunch of druids while wearing a bandana to fucking Metallica. It is actually pretty fucking great. If that's his final match, great.
No, and I'm with you on that, because and I'm not going to, that's not for this podcast, so I'm not going to go all the way down this hole. But there's this phrase that me and my friends use, which is like, wrestling can be anything. And what we kind of mean by that phrase is like, you can do whatever you want with it. It's just it's a physical art form. It doesn't have to be in a ring in front of an audience. You can do whatever. You can have fucking skits break out. You can have entire matches take place on the beach, and you can have I've seen matches that have had people have like local matches where people have had like existential crises in the middle of the match, and a match that went out into Saturday night traffic and people putting holds on each other in like Saturday night, and you can just do whatever you want with it. So the fact that WWE are being forced to actually kind of open the creative envelope, so to speak, is probably the best thing they've done in ages.
Yeah, and on top of that, he also teleports behind AJ Styles.
There you go. That's fucking great. Why not? Why not?
That sounds like something they would have done in that old WMAC Masters show that Bruce Lee's daughter used to host. Just this ridiculousness.
It
Also,
definitely comes off of the vibe of like, we don't have a crowd, so how can we make the best of this? Oh, right, let's just fuck a wrestling ring. Let's just do this out in the woods in a graveyard somewhere.
I
Fuck
mean,
it.
I think I'm relatively new to wrestling, but I think one of my favorite matches that I've seen is one, I believe it was Goldust and Rowdy Roddy Piper, and they're just basically fighting in a car park, and then it devolves into a car chase.
WrestleMania
it was
12.
something like
Yeah,
that,
WrestleMania 12.
That is amazing.
Over the top nonsense. It was great.
It devolves into a car chase, and then they actually use footage from the O.J. Simpson car chase and splice it in to make it look like that's the car chase.
oh, wrestling.
Wrestling can be anything, people.
Occams, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
You know, earlier this week, we're up to 10 cases locally in my county, and this week I had a weird taste in my mouth, and then I coughed, and I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god. But then I did the math on the likelihood of me contacting these 10 people in a county with 18,000, and as soon as I realized that it's very low, all of these symptoms just vanished. So clearly it was just all panic in my head. So as soon as I got over that, I had a good rest of my week.
That definitely helps. Yeah, it's kind of the double down of this whole coronavirus thing, and then seasonal allergies. So that makes every morning you wake up a really interesting kind of a thought process.
Yeah.
When you kind of read over the list of symptoms, it reminds me of in the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton when they're talking about what list of beauty products can kill you from the Joker's line. And it's like, well, the perfume by itself can't, but the perfume and the shampoo and the hand cream can. And just, you kind of start doing that in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
Love that Joker.
Batman the movie, the video game, had like a bonus level where you had to figure out what the recipe was for Smilex, and it was like a match 3 puzzle game.
Really?
Yeah. It was like you had 30 seconds and you had like a list of ingredients, and it was done like a 2 of these are right, 1 of these are wrong kind of thing. And in 30 seconds, you had to get the right 3 ingredients.
Huh. I never knew that. That's a fun fact.
Which Batman beat 'em up was like the live action looking one where all the characters were digitized?
Oh, it was Forever.
Yeah.
It was the arcade game of Batman Forever.
That was a fun one.
We're talking about Batman Forever again.
Do you notice that whenever you start talking about Batman Forever, I just stop talking? Does anybody notice that? Yeah.
Well, you're not missing anything, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. Charlotte, how are you doing? I know I saw on Twitter you're not able to see your boyfriend for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a tricky situation because it's like not against the law at the moment, but it's more, it's just I have to sit on a train for an hour and then a train back because I'm not allowed to work from there. So it's just a moral quandary, really. And at the moment, we've decided we can just do without it for the foreseeable future. It's painful, but it's, you know, for me personally, I don't judge people in my situation who decide differently, but it's just something that we have to weigh up, and we can wait until the 19th of April when things are going to get reassessed. And I'm pretty hopeful that things are going to be relaxed on the 19th of April. We're currently at about 100,000 cases in Germany, but our death rate is pretty low, and Hamburg is pretty badly affected where I live. Bremen, where my boyfriend lives, is the least affected in the region of the 16 in the entire country. Not quite sure why, but it just seems to have not had that many cases. So overall, it's a bit worrying, but there's sort of light at the end of the tunnel. And aside from, to be honest, if I was single, I would be fine with things right now. The only thing I've noticed is, because here we've got fines for breaking the minimum distance between people. You can be fined between 150 and 500 euros if you break that rule and a policeman spots you. Ooh. It's made going to the supermarket absolutely terrifying because you cannot stick to that rule. As a person with a bit of anxiety, I'm finding that I'm getting a bit agoraphobic and I'm getting quite scared to go to the supermarket, which is quite difficult. But again, it's stuff where I know that once things settle down a bit and either I get used to how things are or things get relaxed, I'll be fine. It's just kind of troubling at the moment. It's just a case of just riding it out and waiting and seeing. But yeah, I don't know. Germany's handling it pretty well. I'm more scared sometimes of what I hear about the UK because I have family in the UK, but my grandparents are forced to stay inside for 12 weeks now, and they're sticking to that. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Charlotte.
received the letters, so they have to stay indoors. But they're like, you know, they're sticking to it. We're worried about like their like keeping happy because it's kind of hard. At that age, you enjoy going out and going shopping and seeing people and enjoying your retirement, and they're kind of just stuck indoors now.
Right.
But yeah, they're safe and they're just keeping on, really.
Charlotte, have you seen a movie called The Warriors?
No. Is that the one that was made into a Rockstar game?
Yes.
The Rockstar made into a game. Yeah, I know of it, but I've not seen it.
I would highly recommend you watch that for inspiration as you think about the trek to get to your boyfriend. Because I could see a version of The Warriors being made in your exact scenario.
I see.
And it's a great movie to begin with. So
it's a bit annoying for you guys, really, because you changed like a bit of background detail here. They changed the recording time to deal with the fact that I'm usually commuting back from my boyfriend's at the weekend because I go to visit him at the weekend, and that was just before this all happened. So like I'm not visiting my boyfriend anymore. So we've changed the recording time for nothing.
Pretty much, but might as well get used to it now for when, knock on wood, things start to get back to normal. So.
True.
Yeah. All right. Once again, I was unable to find any story to open the show that was not coronavirus related because, that's just what the world is right now. But there was some bits of news that wasn't terrible. For instance, I read a story about people protesting abortion clinics getting arrested because they were gathering in groups of larger than 10. So that made me laugh. That put a big smile on my face. And then I read this story in Occams. I assume you know who Joe Buck is?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the rest of our crew who may not know, he is a sports announcer for Fox Sports. He's done the World Series, the Super Bowl, and he's generally hated by sports fans in New York, Cleveland, Chicago, anywhere there's a team. People don't like him. He's not a bad guy. He's just kind of indifferent to the hopes and dreams of your team and its fan base. But because there is a pandemic, the only professional sports being played right now are esports. And so announcers like Joe have been spending a lot of their time doing play-by-play calls for people's online videos. Joe started doing this a few weeks ago, and, it's stuff like people playing with their dogs or toddlers trying to walk, generally inoffensive, fun, family-oriented stuff. But because this is the internet, Joe Buck is also getting a lot of videos he doesn't want to do play-by-play for, and yeah, they're sex tapes. People are sending their sex tapes into a sports announcer to do play-by-play. Now, I know we're all bored right now, but at what point does that become a good idea? And not just because you're sending a sex tape to someone who doesn't want one, but Joe Buck is smart, and he is funny, and if he wanted to, I imagine he could just rip apart the guys in these videos because, of course, it's the guy sending them in. It's never going to be the girl. Like, would you really want that to send your sex tape to a sports announcer just to have them go, and, well, the guy has entered the vagina, but you can tell by her face she is not enjoying it. Yes, the eyes are rolling back in her head out of boredom, and now she is thinking about someone else. Oh, his form is way off. She is not going to get there, but he will be there in about 5, 4. Oh, started too early. Never mind. He is already there, and they are done. Like, that's what you would get if someone were to actually start doing some sex tape. Play-by-play.
You would if you were watching mine, anyway.
Well, here's the thing. Like you guys said, people are going to get bored after a month. Some people are going to get bored and go outside. Some people are going to get bored and be like, let's send our sex tape in to do play-by-play. And you know what? I'd rather be on that side of the camp supporting those people. You know what? Send off your sex tapes to get play-by-plays. As long as you're not fucking outside going to a beach, fine by me.
Yeah, we could just like clap for those people as well. Like we should have every single day we go outside and clap for a different group of people, and one of them is the people who send their sex tapes
Exactly.
off instead of going outside.
I
By the
like
way-
that you said entered the vagina, by the
Yeah.
way. That's a good way to describe it. Like it's like I'm taking the bang bus to Pound Town. Nope, it's enter the vagina. I like that.
By the way, if anyone is gonna do the commentary on my sex tape, I want it to be like one of the WWE announcers. I want is Jim Ross still alive? Because he would be great. Oh, it's a slobber knocker. Just that every time something shoots out of something, that would be great.
By God, and yeah, he is. He does AEW commentary.
See, I think if the idea of sending in someone's sex tape to have a commentary, let's change that up a little bit. Send in your sex tape, but have it re-edited to be a horror movie. Like how
Or
they
an
cut
Undertaker match.
how they cut those they recut kids movies to look like horror movies. Add sound effects and different music. Let's try that, because I mean we all know that sex can be strange, and I think it'd be really easy to cut it like a horror movie.
Yeah.
You could also like cut it into the match of Goldust and Roddy Piper.
There we go.
Since they cut in O.J. Simpson's car chase, why not?
Just overlay the word sperm on top of the Bronco and just have it going down the road.
This is Podtoid.
Oh shit! All right, let's go ahead and get into today's show, and we'll get talking about games. And Chris, we're going to start with you with something called Bright Memory.
Yeah, I've not really got a whole lot to say about it, but it's something I tried out on a whim, and it's kind of under the radar, so I thought I'd bring it up. But Bright Memory is a Chinese-developed first-person shooter that appears to be just like kind of one guy, one guy, and maybe he's got this passion project and he's getting it made, and as it builds momentum, he's getting obviously help because it's got like localization and voice acting and all of that, so people are coming in. But what he's basically got off the ground running is this game that it's a first-person shooter and it's futuristic, and it's trying to essentially be kind of a first-person Devil May Cry. So it's a combination of like fucking with gravity, over-the-top sword play, lots of firepower, and was it Dan Smoking Sexy Style or whatever? Did I get it right? But the game itself is essentially it's got the vibe of like the Japanese manga Gun, which is known over here as Battle Angel Alita, or is known by James Cameron as Alita Battle Angel in that film that's better than you think it is, listeners. And you're basically this kind of schoolgirl type character, but she's like super highly skilled and she's really good with guns, and she's kind of cybernetic, and her name's Shelia, and she works for this organization that investigates phenomenon, and there's like this time travel electric storm shit going on. And what this game is, Bright Memories, it's essentially like a half-hour proof of concept of what he's trying to make. And you start with Shelia in this base, and then she gets jumped by an old friend, and then they get sent back to this parallel dimension where she fights a few kind of hellspawn and some dinosaurs. And then as soon as it started, it's over. Essentially, it's literally like half an hour long, even though it costs something like £6 or £7, like $10. And so it's essentially a demo. So it's like a paid demo, which kind of sounds scummy, but I think the idea is he needs the capital to get his actual game made, which is a game called Bright Memory Infinite, which he's just put a trailer out for, and I wrote about the other week. So what Bright Memory is it's essentially a half-hour prelude that you pay for in the hopes of building capital for him to make the full game. And you know what? I'm on board. I actually think it might be pretty fucking good when it's finished. And it's super under the radar, and hardly anyone's talking about it. It's just coming from this one dude in China that no like major publisher has picked it up yet or anything. But the having played this prelude level and then having watched the trailer for what he wants the final game to be, it could really be something quite special. And it's clunky. It's got some rough edges, but he's really, really into the atmosphere. Like just in this half an hour, we've got fog and electrical storms and trees catching fire after they've been struck, and really strong wind effects and water all over the lens. And you go into a cave, and the cave's full of steam and streams, and any form of like environmental effect that you can do, he's found a way to crowbar it in, I think, to kind of show off, look at the world I can create if you give me the money to do it, essentially. So whilst we don't know exactly what this Bright Memory Infinite is going to be like as a finished product, just based off this half an hour I've spent with this guy's demo, I genuinely think it's worth keeping an eye on, and I think it might actually be something. I don't think it's going to be like a world-breaking God of War or anything like that, but I definitely think it might actually be something really fucking interesting when it gets finished. But here's the other thing, and I should have led with this. I'm not sure if this was just for early access people, but he is saying that if you buy the Prelude, you'll get Infinite for free. Now, I don't know if that was if you buy the Prelude before it left early access, you get Infinite for free. I can't remember. But he was willing to say, I know this demo costs like $10, but you'll get the free game at the end of it as well, which is kind of interesting. There's a lot up in the air about this. It might fall apart, it might fall through, he might not find the publisher, or he might not get the capital together. But given we've not really had like a Battle Angel Alita game, and given how popular like the Devil May Cry action style is, I genuinely think it's worth. It's only on Steam at the moment, but the main game is apparently going to be on consoles as well, like on PS4 and Xbox One. So it's worth keeping an eye out for, but at the moment it is still a little bit pie in the sky.
Well, it sounds interesting, and I was just looking at screenshots of it as you were talking, and it looks freaking amazing of what one person can do in the Unreal Engine now.
Yeah, like when I saw the first trailer, when I wrote up about the Bright Memory Infinite trailer, I was triple checking everything, because it didn't seem like the trailer matched the idea of just one guy making it, and I was like. And I'm sure he's getting some help. Right. But I guess if you're just really fucking talented and you have access to the Unreal Engine and the time, you can do that,
Nice. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte. You've been diving into Sora and Kingdom Hearts this week.
Yeah, so I'm still on my Yakuza 5 sort of playthrough. I'm on like 40, maybe 45 hours into that, and I'm nowhere near finishing, and I'm loving every second of it, but I just need to play something else for just a week or so, because I've only been playing Yakuza for like 4 months pretty much. Maybe 1 or 2 other games in the middle, but just basically 0 to 5 the past 4 months. So I just needed to try something else. So I bought the story so far for PS4 last week, and I've started playing Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. Never played a Kingdom Hearts game before, but I have an ex of mine was a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts. An old school friend loved Kingdom Hearts. I just know so many people who, for some reason, this is their favorite game of all time, more so than any other game, I'd think. So I just wanted to try it out. And at the moment, I'd say all the story parts that are to do with Disney and not really to do with Final Fantasy are sort of affecting me the most. And I love seeing Donald Duck. He's my favorite character in it so far because he's just so wacky and just funny. But the stuff with Sora and Kairi and Riku is not really my thing at the moment, but I'm sure it'll grow on me after I've played more than 5 hours. I wasn't surprised. Like, I'd heard it was difficult, but experiencing it myself was a different thing. It is a really difficult game, like more than you would expect. It's just like with the bosses, you have to know exactly what to do to defeat them, and it's kind of you can't just fudge it, and that took me by surprise a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on the Wonderland boss at the minute. I kind of know what I have to do, but just the execution and healing myself on time before I get like nuked, before I can do what I want to do, is kind of tricky at the moment. And they're also not very generous with potions in Wonderland either. Like there's like a plant where you have to sort of give it potions to get stuff back, and I wasted a lot of resources on those sorts of things. So yeah, it's kind of a I can see myself having to drop it and then pick it up again because I'm probably going to get stuck a lot. It's also very there are some PS2 games where when they're remastered, you can still tell that they're PS2 games, not because of graphics in this case, yes, but also because of gameplay decisions and how the game is sort of designed. Because I feel like I've had quite a few moments in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix so far where I've had no idea where I'm supposed to go, and I'm just supposed to figure out for myself, like there's been some sort of cutscene that in a PS4 era game would have sort of hinted to me where to go, but in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix it's just like, oh, apparently I was supposed to go back to the first district even though it looks like Goofy and Donald have gone into the third one, and how was I supposed to know that? And I'm getting attacked every 5 steps I take. So it's a game that requires a lot of patience, but I think the patience is going to be worth it.
I will say the boss in the Alice in Wonderland area when I started playing last year, I had to leave and go to a different area and come back to take them on because I didn't have enough potions, and my save was right before it, and it was just there was no way I was going to beat this thing. So I had to go out and frickin' grind. And I can't remember what the other is. Is Olympus one of them? No, that's not one of the earlier ones. Whatever one of the earlier stages is, I had to go and grind there for about an hour before I could go back and beat them. Because you're right, it is hard. And when you add in the fact of enemies that you're attacking just randomly blocking, and so you bounce off and you know your combo's blown, it's that fighting or that combat system is a beast within itself. There's really nothing else like it. And you know, my first Kingdom Hearts game was actually the one that came out for the Game Boy Advance, Chain of Memories, and you know, it took me a while to get used to that one, but I really loved it. And it was only when I came to this one I was just like, oh fuck, trying to get behind some of these enemies to attack them it was just a titanic task in itself, just trying to circle around them, to strife around them, to not get them to quickly turn around and ruin my attack. Just
I think I said last week that the first one, you know, I have great memories of.
Yeah.
But there are things you're both saying that I'm just like, oh yeah. Like I remember in, is it Agrabah? That's the Aladdin. But I remember that's very big on its you must get behind things to attack them, and that's like can be a pain in the ass. But I also remember thinking that Wonderland really kind of throws you in the deep end.
Yeah.
And is one of actually the more complex stages. I seem to remember the worlds after that kind of tone off a little bit, but Wonderland being one of the few ones where I was literally kind of running around in circles just going like, where the fuck am I supposed to go next? But if I remember, it might be, although that's an early world, I think after that it actually kind of calms down a little bit in that sense.
Yeah, but it kind of tells you to go to Wonderland first because it says that the Heartless are at 1 star there, and the next world, which I don't know which one that is 2 star. So it's kind of pointing you to go to Wonderland first. So obviously they intended you to be thrown in at the deep end like that, but.
And I swear, CJ, I think I did that as well, where I saved before the boss, and then had to keep reloading and leaving the world and going off to grind potions. I'm sure I did that as well. So yeah, there you go. A classic.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Dan. You have been playing through Resident Evil 3 Remake several times this past week or so.
Yeah, I just started off a fresh playthrough this morning, and the length of it isn't really the big issue I have with the game. Because don't get me wrong, it's a great game. I think Resident Evil 3 is a solid game, Remake 3, I should say. But I think what made something like Jeff, for example, from Half-Life Alyx, far more terrifying than Nemesis is the game never like rips the control away from you like it does in Resident Evil 3. Like the big issue I have, even in the original Resident Evil 3, there was still, you were in control pretty much most of the time. Whereas in this, almost every major Nemesis sequence can be boiled down to he's attacking you, you gotta run away, and then you get to a certain distance away, and the game just takes all the controls away from you to show you a cool sequence where he's either firing a rocket launcher at you, or throwing a tentacle thing at you, or whipping out his flamethrower, and it's like a full-blown cutscene. And Jill's climbing up a ladder and juking and dodging him, and then it gets to a point where the cutscene ends, and the camera's panned right behind her, and then you know you got to move forward a little bit again. And that about sums up every major sequence with Nemesis, outside of very early on, where he kind of acts like Mr. X for a while. And then after that, not to go into too many spoilers or context, but that's essentially over. He, you know, if you've played the original Resident Evil 3, you'll know what I mean. He has different phases and forms, and those then become the big boss fights. And then between all that, it's just all-out action and tons of ammo. So it's not too surprising to see people like breezing through this game the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of ammo you get is nothing like 2. Like, by the end of the game, Jill is equipped to like a grenade launcher, a ton of ammo, a machine gun, a pistol. Zombies are nothing at that point. You are going through them like nothing. And on top of that, even early on, when you just have a pistol and ammo, you can do this cool dodge move with the spacebar. I played on mouse and keyboard, where after you do it, if you time the dodge just right, it'll slow down time. And during that sequence, when you're all slowed down, if you just aim at their head with the pistol, it'll blow their head off basically in one shot, at least on the standard difficulty. So if you master that, which isn't very difficult, you can just kind of like go up to a zombie, juke them, dodge, go in slow motion, and blow its head off. So I was just constantly doing that instead of just dodging them, because it was just more efficient, because there was ammo everywhere. And during my first playthrough, it didn't really bother me. I still had a fun time. But on my second playthrough, when I knew exactly where to go, exactly how to deal with those Nemesis sequences, and knew all the dodging mechanics, it made the playthrough just kind of mind-numbing, at least on standard. So if you are going into Resident Evil 3 for the first time, I honestly can't recommend the hardcore mode enough, because I feel like standard is just way too easy. And even then, those scripted sequences are a bit much.
It's interesting because you know how like the original Resident Evil games, well, especially from say 4, 5, and 6,
yeah,
they had a very different pace. Like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 are all paced quite differently, and by the time we get to 6, that's infamously where you've got Chris Redfield doing like a really poor man's Gears of War, like in his sections. And I wonder if they took the same mindset when creating these remakes, and they were like, oh, now people have had kind of the scary survival edge of your seat experience, and now they just want to fucking blow monsters away. Like I don't know, this is just hearsay, but I wonder if it was a specific choice for them to be like, oh, and in this one you're going to be fucking tooled up to the max. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're probably not far off. I can imagine this was probably in development while 2 was in development, because unless they turned this thing out in a year, which, hey, could be the case, but I can imagine there was probably a whole separate team, at least from what I saw in the credits, that's what it seemed like, that worked on this during the development of 2, and their whole shtick was probably like, all right, we're going to make, 2 this, we're going to try and make this a horror survival thing and hope people like it, but if they don't, hey, we got this action-packed follow-up.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe kind of bit them in the ass.
Yeah, it's kind of like, obviously that's kind of guesswork, but
yeah,
if they're making them so close together as well, then they probably don't want to be bored in development, and they don't want to be making the same game twice. So maybe that's what happened. I haven't played it yet. I'll check it out at some point. I might do. I won't.
Despite me kind of like riding on it, it's still a perfectly good game. I still have fun. I still had fun with both playthroughs. But on my second playthrough especially, I felt like I was immensely overpowered.
How are the giant spiders?
They're not here. There's T-virus infected like flea things that look like they're throat fucking Jill and lay eggs in her stomach and she pukes them up. And I was like, that's all right. But yeah, no spiders.
Well, that's kind of a disappointment, even though I immensely hate them in those games. I just kind of wanted to see what they were doing.
The remakes, they have something against spiders. I don't know.
To be honest, it's probably because they'd be hard as fuck to make and like have them move realistically and move around the corridors without fucking up and falling on their backs all the time. Plus, if you've seen those spiders in Animal Crossing, why the fuck would you want to compete with them? Because they're like, those tarantulas are like the scariest video game spiders in decades.
And
why did they do that?
I have no idea. It seems such a weird juxtaposition, doesn't it?
Well, the flea things kind of act like spiders, but they're mostly there just to like do the egg thing that slowly damages you, and it's certainly an animation. Anyways, the other thing that kind of surprised me too about the Resident Evil 3 remake was Resident Evil 2, outside of spiders, played it pretty safe to kind of mimicking the original, doing a lot of those locations good justice and like recreating them and stuff. Resident Evil 3 just like dumped that idea and was like, hey, check out this new shit.
Yeah.
Stuff like the clock tower puzzle, gone. Like, just a whole lot of stuff was kind of just swapped out with new things, which I thought was kind of surprising.
That's why I've heard, and some of the reactions I've read is that some of the new locations are lacking in character and distinction compared to what was in the original.
Yeah, it's all super linear as well. Like, if you know, like, I shouldn't say super linear, but like you'll have a good idea of what the critical path is, like almost all the time.
Well, I guess I'll wait for a sale then. I'm going to be going on a Resident Evil kick probably in a week or two and starting with finally playing through 7. So, Occams, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that.
Oh, very much so. That's I mean, that first half of that game is stellar.
I still need to play 7 as well. I've been waiting to the point where I have PSVR. I was hoping that there would be a VR port for PC. It never happened. So at this point, I'm thinking if I do pick up a PlayStation 5 in the future, I'll wait until whatever next gen PlayStation VR ends up being, and hopefully, Resident Evil 7 should be backwards compatible. Hopefully, and I'll play it on that. Hopefully on VR.
Well, like literally just like a couple of hours ago, like some rumors started gathering steam, like today, that Resi 8's like coming next year and is going back to first person. And take from that what you will. I literally mean some rumors. Do you know what I mean? But that kind of blew up just a couple of hours ago. So maybe they'll hold off and they'll go VR for that one if that's true.
I will say the one thing from that rumor that strikes me the most is that there may be a focus on the occult, which I remember was kind of the original intent of the original Resident Evil 4. You remember they had the ghost hook cut of it before they completely redid it into the masterpiece that it is now.
Yeah.
And so I found that interesting that if that's going to be the case, going with occult would be interesting. Because I think there's a lot more you can do with the Resident Evil mythos than was explored in the first 4 games. And by 4 games, I also count Code Veronica. All right, let's wrap this up with Occams. You've been playing something, or is this a movie?
This is a movie.
Okay. 7th Curse.
Hell yeah. All right. I followed this horror artist on Twitter, and he said he saw this movie, and he said, my life is now divided into before I saw this movie and after. I said, well, shit, I got to watch it then. All right, it's called The 7th Curse. I got the Wikipedia page open here. I'll describe the plot. But it's this dude, Dr. Yoon. He's in the jungles of Thailand. And they're doing some like research thing. Bullshit, don't matter. And he sees they're near the worm tribe, and he sees they're going to sacrifice this really hot girl. And he's like, well, no, I got to rescue her. So he ends up rescuing her, but because of that, he gets damned with the 7 blood curses. And what it means is he essentially has these like blood blister things that pop. But after the 7th one pops on him, they start on his legs and go up. It's going to pop his heart, and all his blood's going to flow out, and he's going to die. Well, that's no good. So the really hot girl he rescues ends up cutting off a piece of her titty and making him eat it. And that saves him from the blood curse for a year. But then a year passes. And in the beginning of the movie, he's just chilling and like doesn't really like care or do anything. And then he's like, oh yeah, this blood curse. So I guess I got to go back to Thailand now and deal with this. So he goes back to Thailand. The hot girl who's like titty he partially ate now has like a half fucked up face from the like saving him. And so he's now back there. He's got to fight the worm tribe and their leader, who it's really weird. So this guy has like long hair. He kind of looks like a Japanese ghost. Long hair, a lot of mascara, kabuki theater kind of looking dude. But for the English dub, they voiced him in like an almost falsetto voice. Think Tiny Tim. It only adds to the magic. And so then there's these horror elements that are thrown in. Like the leader of the worm tribe can summon this. All right, it looks kind of like one of the bosses in Splatterhouse where you fight all the fetuses. It looks like that. It like hides behind his coat like a little puppet, and he can like send it out, and it flies around and it tears dudes' faces off and eats them. And this is all, by the way, done because they want to appease old ancestor, they call it. Which, okay, have y'all seen Army of Darkness?
Oh yeah.
All right. So there's like a bit in Army of Darkness where Ash is fighting all these skeletons, and there's one. My favorite one in the entire movie is it's a green screen, and it's just a skeleton prop that they've like set up on some kind of thing to like flip it up real quick, and he just pushes it down.
Oh shit! I know the exact bit you mean. Yeah,
yeah.
Exact shot. Yeah,
it's my favorite shot in the entire movie. And that's sort of like when they fight Old Ancestor in his skeleton form. It's just like them fighting like a science classroom skeleton with glowing blue eyes, and just like it's fucking amazing. But Old Ancestor, when he gets pissed off and he like eats some flesh and drinks some blood, he can turn into a monster. That the synopsis on Wikipedia calls it a cross between Rodan and the xenomorph from Alien, which is actually perfect. This movie's amazing. It is Indiana Jones meets Army of Darkness. Was made in like what, 86? Yeah, 86. So you got the 80s aesthetic going on. It's fucking amazing. Chow Yun-fat is in it, and he's wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. It is insane. It's gory. It's ridiculous. It's funny. It's nonsensical. The like end of the so not to have any spoilers, but it doesn't fucking matter because it's the journey, not the destination. But like, so they end up beating Old Ancestor, and they're back in the States, or I guess Thailand or wherever they are. It doesn't matter. And they're hanging out. But turns out the girl with the fucked up face, they tried to find a cure for her, and they could cure the blood curse by this dude eating these like divine ashes. But it was in this Buddha statue, and both its eyes were the divine ashes. So they get two. And the dude immediately eats the divine ashes, and he's like, okay, cool, I'm over the blood curse. Now we got to go, or the seventh curse. Now I got to go fight Old Ancestor. And they brought another one for the girl who saved him. And like, so they kill Old Ancestor, and they're like, oh no, we waited too long, and now this girl can't be cured of her like half fucked up face. And then the dude is like, oh well, beauty's on the inside. And then the movie ends.
What?
And it's just like, fuck you, lady, and your half fucked up face. But it is an amazing film. It's on Amazon Prime, and I'm sure it exists on YouTube in some form. I'm actively hunting a copy on DVD to give out as baby shower gifts to people, and just it is amazing and ridiculous, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Now Maggie Chung is also in that, and if you don't know who she is.
I can't believe that. She's like one of my very favorite actors. I had no idea she was in this movie. That's crazy.
She plays Flying Snow in Hero, which I love that sequence in Hero.
Yeah.
She's in like the Police Story films. She plays Jackie Chan's long-suffering girlfriend in those films. But she's also in like Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, and she's in like Irma Vep, which are like straight kind of masterpiece art house movies. So that's a career that she had, but she's amazing. I fucking love her.
And kind of as a side recommendation, because that watching this got me on the kick of like, okay, well, what other insane kung fu movies can I watch? This one I'd heard of before but never saw. It was called Wheels on Meals, with Jackie Chan and some other people whose name I don't remember right now. But it's 83. They're in Spain, so there's a lot of scenes of this what is it, the Sagrada Familia, the church by Gaudi. It's beautiful. But like, it has one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen between Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet. I'm not good at his last name, but he was like an actual like legit martial artist world champion. And it's just a fucking brutal, wonderful fight scene. But that's another good one, also on Amazon Prime. It's a good time to watch some interesting films, folks.
You are listening to Podtoid.
That is it for games. We're going to skip news this week because there's nothing happening outside of sadness and Mario rumors, and we're going to go straight to our listener question segment. That's right, it is time to open the goddamn mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Goddamn mail.
We got a lot of questions this week. I guess everyone's brain is just reeling, being stuck inside for the foreseeable future. So let's go ahead and start with an easy one. Street Magic 3 would like to know, what do we think is better, pizza or tacos? Dan, let's start with you.
I've said this before, but for authentic Mexican food, I would break game ethics. I would tell you that Resident Evil 3 is like 10 hours long. It's fucking great, 10 out of 10. You give me some proper tacos, I'm sold. I'm betraying my olive blood lineage, but tacos all the way.
Yeah, I think there are places in LA that have such great tacos that it certainly beats all of the pizza chains, and then a lot of the little local pizzerias I've been to. Like, getting a really good street taco is an experience, and it's not one that you can get that often because there are a lot of places that don't do that good of tacos.
And see, what I'm hearing are two people who never had really good pizza. And that's interesting to me, that you can have this sort of these two different kind of situations where I love pizza. I think pizza is a universal food. It's the math of food. You can do anything with pizza, where I think tacos are wonderful. They are a staple. They are foundational, but they are limited. And I will go pizza.
Well, there's only one good pizza, and that is Canadian bacon and pineapple. So I think we all can agree on that. That's the
guys.
best pizza,
This
the
was
only
so
good
much
pizza.
fun. I loved being here with y'all. I'll see y'all
Can't believe
later.
Podtoid is over.
I mean, Mexican food is not as widespread here, really. I can't say I've had absolutely fantastic tacos in my life, but I've had the best pizza in my life, so I'm going to say pizza.
Yeah, I'll go with pizza too. It's just less work.
Yeah.
Y'all ever seen the show Reno 911? You remember that show?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
The my favorites. I was having a discussion with a buddy of mine of like fictional food places, and they have the best Mexican restaurant name ever. In Reno 911, it was Tacos, 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 Tacos. It's just to me the greatest name for a restaurant.
All right, next question comes from May Cause Cancer. Should they do a remake of Resident Evil 4 like they did with 2 and 3?
I'm laughing because I literally this week put out a tweet saying, why would they remake Resident Evil 4? It only got released 2 years ago. But that's like what it feels like. It's not, to me, it feels like it came out 5 minutes ago, even though I was like 10 at the time or whatever. It still feels like a highly modern game. And we've had a PlayStation 4 PC remaster fairly recently. I just don't see the need to remake it, to be honest.
Here's the thing. I used to be in the same boat. I used to be like, nah, it's fine. And mechanically, Resident Evil 4 is fine. But at the same time, if they were to just remake that game, as fucking pseudo bad as this would be, like beat for beat, the fucking same game, but in the RE engine, I'm sold. I mean, it's such a gorgeous looking engine, and to re-experience that game in that engine, just the same game essentially, that, hey, they would have my 60 bucks, unfortunately.
I mean, like, I totally get that. I mean, I have actually played a bit of Resident Evil 4, so I'm not entirely talking out my arse here. But, like, I get that, but at the same time, it feels like a waste of Capcom's capacities in a sense that to remake RE4, literally all they have to do is take the exact same game, change absolutely nothing, and put it in another engine. It feels like they could do something way greater than that endeavor. I guess if Capcom had infinite capacities to make games, I'd say absolutely, but it feels like Capcom can do something better with its time.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Charlotte. I don't know what they would do to remake it. I mean, they could put it in the RE7 engine and it would absolutely look gorgeous, but I don't know, is that a good use of their time? And what would be the end point of making a remaking 4? It's already a pretty amazing game. I could see 2 and 3 and 1 back in the day. That made sense. This just feels like, the game, it doesn't need it.
Yeah, this has been an argument online on Twitter for the past week, and I know that a lot of people have been saying, no, we don't need a remake of that. We do Code Veronica first because that's, right now the weakest entry in the series. I would also argue maybe a remake of Resident Evil 0 because I don't think nearly enough people played that because it was originally a GameCube exclusive. And then also Resident Evil Gaiden. Just take that old Game Boy, I think it's Game Boy Color. Is that what that came out on? Yeah. Take that Game Boy Color game and put that into the RE7 engine. It would look way better than it does on a fucking Game Boy. But also I like the idea of Outbreak being on a luxury cruise liner. I know that Resident Evil explored that in Revelations 2, I believe. And so I think it's a setting that I would love to see remade for modern consoles. So I have to agree with you. As much as I agree with Dan that I think RE4 just transplanted into the new engine would be just fantastic to look at. There are bigger priorities in terms of remakes that I think Capcom should be focusing on.
No, don't get me wrong. This is in the context of like, if they fucking did, obviously I want, Code Veronica, I want, just other things, newer things. But if they did, I'd be like, fine, whatever. Let me play the pretty version of Resident Evil 4, I guess.
Here's what they should do as a remake. They should remake Resident Evil 6, right? But they should take out the Chris and Piers storyline. They should take out the Sherry and Jake storyline. They should take out the Ada side stuff. It should just be Leon and Helena, and they can just have a title card at the end saying Piers died on the way back to his home planet. Just make I played that game, and Resident Evil 6, the Leon and Helena stuff, I thought was good. It wasn't great, but it was enjoyable. The rest of that was just, oh, I don't want to play this. This is shite, absolute shite.
So here's my pitch. You play a man who owns a zoo, and it's just a zoo full of tigers. You're also a polygamist, and you have 2 husbands. And then the zombie outbreak happens. Just go from there, man.
I can't wait for that movie to come out.
He wants Brad Pitt to play him.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I saw Edward Norton and Dax Shepard were feuding on Twitter as to who should play him, and I think either way, it's going to be a beautiful film.
The thing I like about that is that a lot of I was one of the people who was made aware of Joe Exotic several years ago when he was running for president, and he put out ridiculous fucking campaign ads. It's funny to see a bunch of people now just discovering him, and especially in the age of Twitter and social media. That's just like, yeah, I had these reactions several years ago. Thanks for catching up, guys.
Yeah, I found him through his music videos, which then led me down the rabbit hole of his bid for the office of the President of the United States of America, and it's just been a treat. It really has been. And the nice thing about that documentary is that it led me to discover like all those other people, like Doc Antle and that insane guy who just sits with a monkey on his porch and everyone else, and I didn't know about them. So it's been a fun little world to open up.
And maybe this is a hot take, and the woman who fucking killed her husband.
Carol Baskins, yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, OJ said she did it, and if anyone knows about murdering people, it's OJ.
Yeah, they can smell their own.
Next question comes from Zalno, and I'm not quite sure what they were going for here, but what is your ideal way to kill a chocolate Easter bunny that doesn't involve eating it?
I got like a true story here.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
Do you guys know what lint bunnies are? Do you
Yes.
have them in America?
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
With the little bell.
Absolutely.
Like, I once bought a girlfriend of mine like 2 lint bunnies, like full size ones, and we put them in the
Aw.
fridge, and then it was like Easter, obviously. And we put them in the fridge, and then neither of us could bring ourselves to fucking decapitate them. So they sat in the back of the fridge for like maybe 4 years.
Oh,
But you know, the foil was still on them, so I'm sure they were fine inside. But we just didn't want to smash their heads in because what had they ever done to us?
Have any of you seen the film Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence with David Bowie in it?
God, it has been
a long
yeah.
time ago. Yeah.
You know that scene where he's like, oh God, this is a massive spoiler, but who cares? He gets buried up to his neck in sand and he's left in the heat to die.
and this is a Christmas movie?
It's a war movie.
War movie, yeah.
Okay.
You could do that with a bunny and then just leave it to be eaten by crows to melt in the heat.
You know who I imagine everyone would like to do that with? Zipper from Animal Crossing. Just bury him up to his neck and let the ants from your rotten turnips come and eat his face off.
From what I gather, that guy's just having a good time. I don't know what everyone's fucking problem is.
You know, it's been fun for me as someone who doesn't play Animal Crossing or have a Switch to hear these conversations, because it sounds like y'all just hate somebody a lot. Like when all this started up, and I was actually in the Destructoid chat, we're like, oh man, I've been growing cherries. And I was like, oh shit, that's really exciting. Like, what kind of cherries you grow? And then I realized you're talking about a video game. I was like, oh, y'all are some agricultural motherfuckers.
I think I remember it was in staff chat earlier this week. Everyone was talking about some really big news that had just broken, and I can't remember what it was, but CJ came in and was like, here's this big headline, and then someone was like, holy shit, and then someone linked to a tweet to the headline, and then out of nowhere, like in the middle of this conversation, Dan just fucking turned up with, turnips are just 256 bells right now.
Hell yeah.
That was the Last of Us 2 delay was the big headline.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was it.
Anthony Marzano wants to know, what have we been doing during isolation that we never thought we were into? For my part, I started pickling vegetables. I did it like a week and a half ago. They did not turn out super great, but they were still edible. So that's what I've been starting to do. So I'm a pickler now.
You should try making your own pickles.
That's the next on my list. I pickled. What did I do? I did a cauliflower, because I've had pickled cauliflower before and it was delicious. This was not as delicious as that, so I clearly need to up the amount of dill that I'm putting into my pickling vinegar.
My dad has a recipe for sweet pickles that his mom created back in the Depression. They're fantastic.
What about Charlotte? You doing anything new that you never thought you'd be into?
Not really. I've just been doing more of the stuff that I always do, and it's been enhanced by. So this is a terrible time, right? But actually, in some respects, my lifestyle has got a little bit better because I'm no longer losing 2 hours of my day to traveling for work. So I'm playing a lot more games. I'm cooking a lot more. And yeah, just getting to do more of the stuff that I normally do and don't have time for, which is pretty nice, actually. Yeah, I made a bunch of the stuff to go on top of bruschetta, and I'm gonna make that with some pasta tomorrow or the day after, and so I've got a lot of jar stuff going on, but that's not kind of unusual for me. I do often make tubs of stuff and then just eat it throughout the week. So yeah, just more of the good stuff, really.
I put some makeup on a few days ago, like I was
You're contouring, Chris.
Well, I was funny you say that. I was like trying to make my eyes look better. Like my eyes just look so shit. They look so tired and worn down. And it's there. And I think I look younger than I am. I definitely do, but my eyes just look so fucking tired and dark. I was trying to make them look better, and I've got the time now to sit in front of the mirror and try and do that.
You got them Betty Davis eyes?
Oh, I wish.
I'd wear a house dress just for a day when I'm working. It seems comfortable.
What's the house dress?
It's a dress you wear in the
concept?
house. You don't know a house dress? This might be like a Southern lady thing. It's just like a dress you wear in the house.
Okay.
Like when you have no plans of going out, but you still want to look nice. It's your house dress.
Yeah, like
that's concept. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have kimonos I wear that are just my house kimonos. They're comfortable. Sometimes I wear those. I wear these athletic shorts when I'm home because if you like, I'm stealing a tweet, but someone said if you're wearing jeans inside your house, you're a psychopath, and I completely agree with that. And so I just wear these athletic shorts, and sometimes I just put on my house kimono. So I'll just take off my shirt and put on my house kimono, walk around, feel really sexy. It's good. Feel like the Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Granadico wants to know, do we have some idea or a list of things we want to do once everything gets back to normal, whatever normal may be?
I'll go first because I'm probably I've got the most boring answer. I just want to get back to doing what I was doing because although there's a lot I'm not happy about kind of with myself and my life and stuff, I need kind of that routine back. I miss the coffee shop I visited all the time. I really miss one of my very, very best friends who I haven't seen in a while. And I just want to get back. I just want things to kind of go back to normal. And I'll still continue doing what I do. I'll still continue believing in the politics I believe in. I'll still continue fighting the things I don't like and being vocal about it. I'll play games when I can. I'll drink a lot of coffee. I just want everything to get back to normal, apart from everyone to maybe have learned a little bit more about how much we need decent healthcare and how much we don't deserve our fucking amazing healthcare workers, as opposed to how much we really don't need our fucking atrocious government. So I want everything to go back to normal, but I just want everyone to be, and including myself, I'm not being arrogant here. I'm just saying I just want everyone to be a little wiser for the wear.
And for people to stop treating socialism like a terrible thing and to realize that the safety net is there for everybody, because I feel like
it's funny. It's like socialism works all the time. You don't just have to pull it out in a fucking crisis, and then immediately shit on it once you start making money again.
Hey, that's the American way.
It's a weird thing, though. It's weird. It's specifically weird for the UK because the UK, one of the UK's proudest achievements is the NHS, and without socialism, the NHS would not exist. So this whole weird thing about how socialism is bad just does not make any sense in the context of the UK. It actually makes a bit more sense in the context of the US. In the context of the UK, we should all be bloody socialists, but somehow we're not.
Well, see, last week I talked about spending my Corona dollars on the prostitutes. So I think once this is all over, I'm going to try to get back into dating, and I want to get out there meeting people, in a time where I don't have to worry about catching the coronavirus from eating ass. I'm also going to drive to see my friends more often, because since I've moved here, I haven't seen anyone I know in months, or in some cases years. But now, I have with no vacation happening for me this year, that was finally called off. It's like as soon as we can travel again, and as soon as it's safe to go, I'm going to head down south to see some of my friends, because that's something I haven't done in a while. And now with everyone being forced to be inside, it kind of makes me realize it's been a wasted opportunity for me not to pursue that. So
I miss going to restaurants. I miss a good meal and eating with people I care about, and getting a nice buzz and laughing. I miss thrifting a lot.
I was going to say. Yeah.
I love going thrifting. Love it, love it, love it. People watching. I miss all that quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, just like everyone else said, the normalcy, the routine, the not having to be afraid to go to the grocery store.
Occams, when this is over, you need to treat yourself to that final fight marquee.
I mean, I found it for $60. So the Marvel versus Capcom one goes for $200. Fucking hell, man. I did get a Super Macross one recently at a really good price though, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dan?
Camping.
Yeah.
I really miss going to the cinema, but I can't see that coming back for a really long time. When we talk about normality, the full normality is probably not going to come back for a really long time. So I would not want to go to the cinema and do things that are completely frivolous and involve sitting in a room with strangers until everything is completely back to normal. So that's probably going to have to wait a good few months. Yeah. But I will look forward to going back to the cinema.
All these studios that have been putting back films, it'll be really interesting to see, once cinemas open again, how they start putting them out. It'll be interesting to see whether they go, right, now we need to kind of get it out next month because people want to go to the cinema, so they'll go and see anything. Or whether they'll be like, oh no, we need to start the marketing hype again, so we need another 6 months of trailers beforehand. Or it'll be interesting to just see whether Bond shows up in November as planned, or whether it's next April or what.
I think the first blockbuster to open when the theaters are deemed safe to go again is going to just do massive amounts of money. So I don't think you'll have some movies that will wait to try and strike when it's hot. But if this, especially in the US, if this does extend past the summer, and Wonder Woman, which got a release date of August, and Mulan, which got a release date in July, are pushed back again because we still can't go to the cinema. I think when you get round to October, December, November, it's just going to be a shit ton of Oscar films being pushed out, like normal, but in lieu of also having the big blockbusters, because I don't think they're going to want to have the blockbusters compete with one another.
Yeah.
The way that they were fine having it last year. You're not going to have, because so many are being pushed back and held off, you could arguably release 3 a week for starting in October and have them all released at time, but that's just gonna kill their box office chances. So
I'm looking forward to the 1 or maybe 2 good horror movies that come out of this situation, be they topical or just a product of being stuck inside.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I just want to interject to say that I noticed on the PlayStation Store that there's a game that's come out, an FMV game called The Complex, and it came out on the 31st of March, and it is about a pandemic. And you just think, is this the right time to be releasing that sort of game? But it could be a good thing. Depending on your mood about this whole coronavirus thing, it might actually be an interesting game to play right now, and it is kind of like a movie.
Yeah, any FMV game that gets released is good in my book, just because I want that genre to be so much more than it is. And for some people, I think it could be cathartic to play a game set in a pandemic. I'm like, I wish Last of Us 2 was happening, but then also there was like that game Contagion or something, which just seemed. I mean, if I felt like I'd be playing me watching the news, which is the last thing I want.
All right. Kanji Likes Boys wants to know, what is your favorite clothing accessory to get in a game? One that you love so much, even if it gives you negative stats, you always put it on.
Oh, for me, it's a skull mask or a bandana that makes the lower half of my head look like a skull.
I like a good mask. Just in general, the weirder, the crazier, the better. I mean, if it's cool, like scary, that's fun. But if it's like a horse wearing a jaunty hat, I'm good with that too. Tales of Vesperia did this fun thing where you get these little like shoulder buddies, which are like little like stuffed animal versions of the other characters in the game that you could place on your shoulder. So that was fun. I like that quite a bit.
Aviator sunglasses.
Yeah,
they're really bloody common. They're in like any game with clothing customization options. Chances are there's aviator sunglasses, and that's just my go-to.
Moving on, Max Bayer is asking, so everyone's been doing the whole Animal Crossing Doom crossover meme thing and seeing Isabelle shotgunning demons, and it has me thinking, what are 2 games that you would swap the aesthetic of? So character designs, art style, and tone of game A, but with the gameplay of game B.
So I'd keep the aesthetic of Sonic the Hedgehog, but the gameplay would be Mr. Mosquito. So essentially you're a blue hedgehog going around sucking the blood of unsuspecting adults and children. I think it would do really well for Sega.
I would do the aesthetic of Agony, but the gameplay of either Trauma Center or Surgeon Simulator.
Jeez.
So just doing the surgery, but it's just actual viscera just going everywhere.
Could you have it to be like you're doing the surgery and you think you're helping them, but it's actually you're torturing them and you don't realize it?
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
Can we have DLC where you deal with the genitals?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh god, my toes are curling.
Occams, you need to make that game in dreams.
Yeah, really. I don't even know if I can have like, that's such a good answer. Wow. That's impressive.
Mike Martin wants to know, what's the worst song you've ever fucked to? Occams, surely you have a great answer for this.
I answered this in the comments because it was like, yeah, it was a perfect question. Mixed CD of cartoon theme songs I made in college.
So what types of cartoons? Like, are we talking like Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Oh no, I'm much older than you. No, I'm talking like Gummy Bears. I'm talking DuckTales. Really throwing it back to Children of the Sun, L'Enfant du Soleil. If you remember that, Maya the Bee, Eureka's Castle. I mean, I threw some crazy shit on there that I found.
I once did it to the Venga Boys, Boom 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 Boom, which.
Sorry.
That's like a fucking rhythm action game or something.
First of all, that's like
Elite Beat Agent sequel.
Yeah. That's the gayest possible song. But actually, my friend has a better answer for this than I do, because back in college, he was hooking up with a girl in his dorm room, and this was the song playing on his iTunes. So, not only embarrassing for the sex, but this was the time before streaming, which means he had to buy that song to put it on his iTunes. So there's a lot of mistakes happening there.
Mine. I'm sorry. Mine's Halls of Illusion by Insane Clown Posse.
Nice.
Wow.
I hadn't actually put it on. It was just MTV was on in the background, and that was playing. It just gives you an idea of when it was. But
it's a scientific fact that if you have sex to an Insane Clown Posse song, there's a 20% chance higher that you'll get a UTI just by the virtue of that song playing.
Charlotte or Dan, do either of you have an answer for this?
I'm not answering this.
That's probably the
can't
smartest.
Make me.
That's the smartest move right there.
You're not taking me alive.
I should probably say the same thing, but my first girlfriend was what we would describe as a scene girl back in the day. So I heard a lot of AFI, My Chemical Romance. All of that was fine, but I remember one time I had a similar situation to Chris where I don't know what the fucking band is called, but it's that What Does the Fox Say?
Oh my
song
god.
fucking came on, and it kind of killed the whole vibe.
All right, we are just about out of time, but before we go, Occams, we have a shout out this week.
We do actually. Let me I'm gonna riff a little bit while I bring up my notes. You guys eat any good food lately, huh?
I've been eating a lot of food lately. I went to the store on Friday to buy 2 weeks worth of food, and now I'm worried it's not going to last me a week.
I gotta, man, just chips. I gotta watch out. They're bad for you. So yeah, we have a couple community shout outs. First off, just the community in general for everything going on, kind of just sticking with each other. God bless y'all. But I have some birthday shout outs. Goofier Brute and Shinks, they had birthdays. And if I missed you, I do apologize. I try to get everyone's birthdays. I write them down when I see them. I'm only human, so I will miss you, and I do apologize. But
there's so many at the moment as well.
Yeah, really. 9 months ago, y'all's parents were fucking. All right. So Goofier Brute and Shinks, happy birthday. A very, very special shout out to user Seymour, because his COVID-19 test came back negative. So fucking right, good. Man. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome on that. And so those are the community shout outs.
The Blonde Bass or Blonde Bass, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's Bass or Bass, but the Bass Bass Awards are out now on the C-Blogs covering the past 2 years, and it's something. High budget production values. Todd Howard even made an appearance. It's something. I mean, I don't know how he even topped us, but he did.
He did do something pretty special with that. Yeah, you should go and check that out.
All right.
Interactive experience.
Oh, so it's more than just a simple blog post then.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah. Download it. Yeah, download a thing.
Oh,
nice.
ESA, so the European Speedrun Assembly, which I'm involved in quite a bit whenever there's an event on, they are having a online event that starts tomorrow at 4 p.m. CET +1, so like my time zone it starts, and it runs for the entire week. And that is I don't think it's really raising money for charity. I think the problem is ESA has been hit pretty hard with the COVID. It's had to cancel quite a few events already, and a couple, well, it's cancelled an event, and I think one of them is hanging in the balance a little bit. So they're raising money to just sort of keep themselves ticking over, which is, because of COVID. So yeah. Please take a look at what we're doing and tune in if you want something to watch on Twitch during quarantine or self-isolation. It's a lot of speedrunning goodness.
That is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Occam, Charlotte, and myself, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or the Destructoid YouTube channel.